for kicking this off. A very good evening to all of you, our esteemed panelists, our dear moderator, Triple IT Ahmedabad and IIA Ahmedabad. We are 55 days down in lockdown. Some of us are happy with this break, and few of us are anxious to get back to the normal. We want to return to our work, our profession, our sites. Everything seems too far away in memory. So, like Chirag said, this is the need of the hour. This is the webinar that we need. Now that the virus is part of our lives in so many ways, how is it that we will live with it? This new normal, and how do we survive and manage our practices? This is what the webinar is about, as everybody knows. But I want to talk about Triple ID Ahmedabad has been doing in these 55 days. I'm happy to share that we at Triple ID Ahmedabad, we have not let the COVID-19 situation to seize our enthusiasm or our activities. As the lockdown began, a lot of us creative members went back to our passions of painting, drawing, poetry. And with all this, we decided to fill up our social media pages. We gave color to our pages and hope and inspiration to other members. We called it the Lockdown Learnings. The campaign is still ongoing, and we are still happy to see a lot more of these lockdown learnings. Give us your beautiful pictures and paintings and acting and music and whatever it is that you're doing. In fact, this was such a hit that the national level it is now. Now they have called for a competition between all the members across the various chapters and centers across India, and there's one in Dubai too. This next one, what we did during the lockdown, is the term partner campaign. Our term partners are precious to us as we are to them. We initiated this campaign to let them know that they could use our social media platforms to introduce their brand to some creator. These kind of things helped us strengthen our bond and made sure that things were not dormant. We didn't want to forget them, nor have them forget us. We did a membership drive too, which was the need of the hour. We really want to reach out to more members. We co-partnered also with product webinars, like with our term partner, Sarah, with our technical partner, Inner Engineering, who we co-hosted a webinar also with architect Jagul Patel. He has come out with a new software called Red Bracket, which introduced our fraternity to new technologies. I think Chirag has already talked about the Frank Talk 1 and Frank Talk 2, which we are currently holding. Upcoming events, we don't want this situation or the lockdown or the work from home to come in the way of engaging with our members and with our term partners. We want, as per our schedule, we are going to have our MEPF workshop, again, obviously in an online webinar format. Frank Talk 3 is scheduled already, which will talk about finance and cash flow during these times. I think we will be touching some of it in today's discussions, hopefully. Some knowledge series where we would invite a designer of repute to take us through their works, the processes, their inspirations. And what I'm very keen on is a motivational speaker webinar as to a lot of us, that anxiety that we are dealing with, the psychological effects of the pandemic, how do we handle those? We are also keen to do a collaborative event with various design colleges in and around Ahmedabad. So we have a busy calendar, and COVID or otherwise, we are going to make sure we engage with our term partners, within our members, and with all of you. So this is part of that initiative, and thank you so much for being part of this. Over to Chirag.
Okay, thank you, Ranna. I request everyone who has just joined to mute themselves, please. If you have not, please mute yourself. Before I move on, I would like Mr. Anand Tatu to unmute himself and say a few words for us, please. Anand bhai.
Good evening, everybody. Today's distinguished panelists, members of IIA, members of IIID, fellow architects, designers, and all those who are attending this interesting webinar this evening. On behalf of the Indian Institute of Architects, I extend my warm welcome to all of you to this very interesting and relevant discussion on living with the virus, how to survive and manage a design practice. Now, more than 50 days lockdown, and all of us have been bombarded with a lot of gyan through unending webinars, TV debates, newspapers, and of course our WhatsApp University. જ્ઞાનના આટલા મોટા ઓવરડોઝ પછી હવે કામની વાત કરવાનો સમય આવ્યો છે. That is what I feel. We must talk about where exactly the shoe pinches. પગાર આપો, એપ્રિલનો આપો, કેટલા ટકા આપો, મે સુધી ચલાવવું કે નહીં ચલાવવું. So we are not sure about when the lockdown is going to get open. But when it finally seems that next week we may be able to reopen, all the professionals, including designers and architects, have mixed feelings and emotions. Some excitement that we are reopening, but a great amount of anxiety that what the future holds in store for us. એટલે બહુ confusion છે, ઘણી બધી ચિંતાઓ છે, ઘણી બધું excitement છે. As I said, like our feeling is like a child who is, returning back to school after a long vacation. But with our, after this 50 days of break, we are confident with our own skill sets, of course. But at the same time, we are very nervous that how the future is going to unfold. There are a host of challenges ahead, and to remain relevant, we shall have to drastically change the way we think, the way we work, the way we commute, the way we plan our cities, the way we consume and conserve our resources. And we will also have to redefine many things, like redefine efficiency, redefine comfort, and redefine affordability. Because we've seen that not adhering to certain basic fundamentals, what we have put ourselves in such a mess. So we will have to redefine many things. A new normal will be set in, and we all will have to adjust to it if we really want to remain relevant and sustain our profession. We have to realign our approach to respond to the changing needs of the society and tackle this transition with utmost sensitivity and responsibility. I'm looking forward to a truly frank discussion without mincing any words from this distinguished panel of speakers today who represent different cities and different cross-section of various types of practices. And our own Vatsal Joshi, architect Vatsal Joshi, I'm sure will make it as interesting as possible. And all the participants will be able to clear their confusions, and their anxieties will be relieved at the end of this session. That is what I feel. Thank you very much. Over to Chirag.
Thank you, sir. Thanks very much. Now, before I hand over the session to our moderator, I'd like to briefly introduce our panelists. Snehal Shah is from Surat, is an architect and urban designer, having immense experience and strong inclination in the fields of micro-level design issues, energy-efficient design, space optimization, green buildings, mass housing, and project implementation strategies. Samir Shukla is from Ahmedabad, qualified as an architect from School of Architecture, Ahmedabad in 1990. He's now an advocate and is also engaged with academics at IIM Ahmedabad and NID, and is a regular columnist at the Times of India National Portal. Amit Srivatsava from Baroda has a considerable experience in the field of architecture and public works. Through his travels pan India and abroad, being a very socially active architect, sensitive about the environment and surroundings, he's the founding member of the Vadodara initiative. Bimal Mistry is from Ahmedabad and is the principal architect at BMAA, Bimal Mistry Architects and Associates, a boutique architectural and interior design consultancy firm at Ahmedabad. BMA provides design consultancy for a variety of residential, commercial, and institutional projects. Keyur Vadodaria from Ahmedabad leads the architectural design team of PVDRS, focusing on the design of energy efficient and sustainable buildings. He has more than 19 years of experience of working in the UK and India. So that is something about the panelists. I would like Manoj Bhai to keep these particular slides on. Vatsal Bhai would like to elaborate a little bit on all of our panelists. So please keep these slides on and go back to the first slide. And before Vatsal Bhai joins in, I would like to introduce him as well. Having graduated from Maharaja Sayajirao University of Vadodara, and is presently one of the directors and founders of AAPL. Vatsal Joshi has been practicing architecture since 1993. He has a diverse national and international experience of over 25 years. So thank you very much. That was the introduction of our panelists. I would like to hand over to Vatsal Joshi to start with today's panel discussion. Thank you, everyone. Vatsal Bhai, over to you.
Thank you, Chirag. Thank you so much. Am I audible?
Yes, Vatsal Bhai, please go on.
Okay, thank you. And good evening, friends. It's been a privilege to host this on behalf of IIA and IIID to moderate this extremely interesting topic and very wise panel actually with me. So thank you for this opportunity, and thank you for all the participants who have joined in. I know this panel professionally and personally, and that has the variety that one comes across in terms of the experience, in terms of the thought processes, and I'm sure the take home is much more than what we have expected. So I welcome all the panelists from various locations, from Surat, Baroda, Ahmedabad, and we are here to debate and discuss some common concerns the fraternity is facing these days, and which will ultimately be probably solved, or at least direction is being given after today's discussion. So as the famous saying is that when you talk, you only are repeating what you already know, but when you listen, you always learn something new. So without going much further, I'll just try and learn and absorb things from the panelists, and we'll start this in a fashion that we'll have each panelist, we have a set of questions, and each panelist will kind of come up with their own perspective on that questions. Anand, can you run this slide next? Yeah, so Snehal, this is something what you can expect. I mean, the slide is just meant to understand what you can expect out of Snehal, and that is about him. The 57-page dossier that he has made is something which is fantastic, and everybody it's a viral thing right now. So the details that he has gone into is amazing. Next, please. Manoj bhai, can you go? Yeah, Samir, obviously dual professions, lawyer and architecture, both of them, and he does not mince words. He is a very kind of headstrong person with a clear thought process, and he is taking on everybody right from the COA to the IIA. Thank you, Samir, for joining in. Next, please. Amit Srivatsava, a dear friend of mine. We studied together, and he's been instrumental in kind of establishing this MSA in Baroda, and one of the most successful and leading practices. Again, a very clear and oriented thought process. So that is what you expect out of him, is a very defined approach. Next, please. Next, please. Bimal Mistry, our own past chairperson of IIID, also always with us in IIA. He's a fantastic person as a person himself, and he's got some fantastic organizational skills, and his eye for the detail is to the last character of the word, and I mean, the details that he goes into, nobody else can do that. Next, please. Keyur, of course, with his vast experience abroad and in India, he is somebody who has kind of made himself in a very, he's come out in a very strong way, and his thought processes are very kind of clear and understood in various aspects of his projects. So that's the introduction about the panel, and now I will kind of take on to the questions. Manoj, you can remove this panel now. We will go to the panelists. Okay, so the first question to all the panelists, and this is how we start on. Everybody takes their turn, and you can kind of also want to jump the bandwagon, no problem. So how do you prepare for something which we are not prepared for? This situation was never imagined, and it just kind of jolted us out of the blue. So how do you kind of handle this situation? How do you, first of all, come to terms with the situation? And then obviously the work from home that came about, the efficiency that kind of went down, the time managements, the resources managements. We never prepared to have a strong Wi-Fi, first of all, or maybe a high-end laptop or a tablet for the staff especially. How do you take this up? So I am throwing open this question to everybody. And I think, Bimal bhai, can you start with this? Hello, Bimal bhai.
Sir, you need to unmute yourself.
Okay, till then, I think somebody else.
Hello.
Yeah, Bimal.
Yeah, Bimal. Yeah, Bimal.
Hello. Yes, sir, you are audible. Yes, sir.
See, I would like to approach this problem as an architect. I don't understand why we are not ready to face something for which we are not prepared. I mean, that's part of our job description. We always start off with a blank site. For interior design, we start off with an absolutely blank shell of space. And the moment we put some constraints into it, like the design brief or the budgetary constraints or the material constraints or the contextual constraint, and then we can really bring something out of that space, or we can finish our design solution. So it is not as if we are not used to being unprepared or facing something for which we are not prepared. So I would like to see even this situation in a similar light, that we are trying to take the first steps of finding perhaps a tile-led solution which has not come before. As far as the use of technologies and everything is concerned, yes, there are several technologies already existing for a very long time. As Vatsal rightfully said, it's that since we have not been subjected to use them, we have not made use of them, and perhaps we will be forced to make use of them now. But there again, we will need to be cautious in what sort of technology we will need to adopt, because that will vary from practice to practice. Perhaps a very large practice will have all the logistics and everything, where small practices like mine will need to what exactly is required at what point of time technology. But because you don't want to adopt a technology that sometime you cannot make use of a huge amount of time in terms of skill upgradation for the entire staff. We have already been bombarded with all sorts of marketing mailers from different technology solutions for this. but we need to look at it very objectively about what our practice will require from that, and accordingly choose a necessary product. As far as is concerned, I don't know how we measure the creative outputs as in terms of efficiency. So that's always going to be a challenge. But I understand that this particular pause that has been imposed upon us will give us good opportunity to look at our practice holistically, and what do we stand for, and what is required to be done now, so that we can get back to the new normal as soon as possible. So that I think is my take on this. So it's not as if we are totally unprepared. We are always unprepared. So, but we need to take the best of our professional training to handle the situation.
All right, Bimal, thank you. Moving on to Snehal. Snehal, can you kind of come up with, yeah?
Come up with, yeah. Am I audible?
Yes, Snehal, yeah.
Okay. Firstly, I'd just like to comprehend what has happened in the last 2 months and how people have been affected. Obviously, there has been an emotional disruption. A lot of young architects who worked with me initially or in the past, or in the association, Architects Association, we discussed this. It seems there is a lot of stress and a lot of panic about what has happened. See, I think these emotional disruptions is something we have not prepared ourselves for, and it is irrespective of the profession. I don't think the profession defines us. I just look at it as a tool to survive and operate in the present socio-economic setting or the norm of the world, let us say. There's more to us than being architects or designers. So this whole issue of this emotional disruption and what one can do to prepare for that is a big realization. Second is about the technological disruption, which Bimal also touched upon. So technological disruption is not something which has happened in the last 2 months. With or without COVID, the economy was low in Gujarat anyways for the last 2 years. Anyways, a lot of offices were struggling to stay afloat. So now if you look at technology, we know that artificial intelligence is on its way. We are just trying to act like an ostrich and not think that it is on its way. Once that arrives, a lot of jobs will be in danger. Junior designers or architects or GET technicians, I think they'll start feeling irrelevant, because it will be delivering so much in lesser time and lesser errors. Even I recently saw this clip about a program from Apple, which is coming up about augmented reality. So it will turn an end user into a designer. What will the interior designers do then? IKEA is tying up with iPhone or the Apple and creating augmented reality platforms which are so beautiful. Just imagine a few years back, not all of us were good photographers, but good smartphones made all of us good photographers. So this is another technology disruption which we are in the middle of. So this is the second disruption which we are facing. The biggest realization which I am having is that as a profession, we have not cared about resilience as a business model. Why didn't we save for these kind of situations? Why did we just copy the templates we saw in the past of architecture or interiors business, and we just kept on doing that as if this is going to last all our life? So we hear a lot of firms saying that they are in danger, no work, no money, and it would not be possible to survive. And it is at this point very painful to understand that we as a profession have to really fail to build up these resilient business models. We are the one of the key stakeholders in the largest industry of the world. Please do not forget that construction industry is the largest industry in the world, and we are an important cog in the whole game. And look at our vulnerability. So in that sense, these 2 months have really given a lot of time to think about the way forward. Yes, we are not that prepared. Infrastructure is something which is not as a big issue. It will, obviously the gadgets will follow. But these are, I feel, the fundamental things which we need to ponder upon. Yeah, thank you.
All right. Thank you, Snehal. You brought an important point of the artificial intelligence that may otherwise eat up our jobs rather than the COVID pandemic. So it's an important thing. I would like to move this question now to Keyur. And Keyur, from your perspective of understanding things and working abroad and working in India, do you see a change in terms of being prepared? What's your take on that?
Yeah, thanks. Kind of just looking at the question which talks about, how do we handle this situation which we didn't anticipate. Also the whole idea of working from home and people sort of finding it difficult, struggling, to get work done from home, the efficiency of staff. I think as far as our studio was concerned, it wasn't really very challenging for us. The reason being that our workplace has been attached to our home. So we've had this debate between me and Megha since quite some time, whether we want to move out and go elsewhere and have an office outside. And in hindsight, we really feel that good we didn't take that decision. Right. And now it has actually strengthened this belief that we both have shared, that the whole idea of having a workplace as well as living together as a combined sort of a mixed use kind of idea. This is something that we saw and we experienced while we were working and living in UK. There were many ideas and many projects that had the whole idea of a workplace and a house together. It had many benefits, and I think we enjoy that. For example, we don't have to travel to work every day in the morning, and that we really enjoy. In our profession, again, sometimes you want to work at 2 o'clock in the night. You can continue to do so while your office is at home. So it wasn't really challenging for us. And then again, in terms of the efficiency of staff or time management, I think we almost took the strategy of what I call, the test match strategy. So we were like looking at deliverables or targets, which were, ball by ball, over by over, or session by session. So each staff member was given a daily target to be achieved. And we used easily available technologies like TeamViewer and WhatsApp video calls to kind of get an update and also give a feedback to staff on a daily basis. So that, I think, we found, in fact, that in the first 4 or 5 weeks of the lockdown, we as a team were far more effective and productive than actually what we were earlier. And I think the other reason was because not just daily targets, but also because there were no disturbances, there were no site visits, there were no meetings, there were no phone calls. So we had this full concentration. And now I'm actually thinking that, we were discussing yesterday that once we get back to normal, we should have at least one day where we're going to switch off the phone. We don't want any meetings, no phone calls, and just kind of spend quality time on each and every project. So I think that was also a good realization that this is probably how we might change our working pattern as we move further.
Okay.
Yeah.
Lucky you that you have the work and home together and kind of makes sense. Obviously, it's going to be also a new part of the design aspects when housing comes up. Yeah. So moving on to Samir. Samir, I know surely for that you have very different perspective on this, and you are kind of focused.
I'll come in and I'll come in with a bit of amusement. So I'll tell you something else. I teach systems biology at IIMA. Okay, and since last 10 years, I have written only about epidemics. So I've written more about epidemics than architecture. Your Architecture Act and all is secondary. My primary intention of writing is epidemics. Okay, so this epidemic has come a bit late, and I'm anticipating a bigger epidemic around the corner in this monsoon. Now, let me be very candid. I'm expected to be like this, but this new normal is absolute rubbish. If we do that new normal, we'll be dead in 100 years. Our immune systems will collapse. So please, architects, don't design buildings with people spaced apart and all. We are completely fine with our immune system. And I'll point out something with some numbers for you so that you in Ahmedabad can relieve yourself a bit. So in 2006, did you any of you shut your offices? No. So there was an epidemic of chikungunya. 60,000 recorded cases in Ahmedabad, additionality of 4,000. Recorded additionality is that previous 4 years or 5 years, the number of people who have died, how many more people died? That is how you work on an epidemic. So chikungunya had additionality of 4,000 in 2.5 months. Your COVID has not even touched it. Okay, not even remotely touched it. So we are sitting in something that is not an epidemic that we already experienced. So with that, I would now not really get into the dimension of, because all of us would love to have this Smashan Vairagya and all these grand things about, green earth. Let's enjoy that bit. But I would like to point out one thing is that I have always been writing a lot from one perspective, and I call it architects building weapons of mass destruction. Okay, our cities are constructed by us in a manner that we just don't understand where we are on this planet. So whenever you're an Indian architect, buy a large map, draw a line across India, see all the land masses that are aligned with you, and then you decide where you borrow your ideas from. So nothing in this world is aligned with us. Sahara Desert is aligned with us. Some part of China is aligned with us. Mexico is aligned with us. Neither these European countries nor this American idea that we bring in as architecture, nor these foreign architects that we invite are our tropical climate. What we are going to have corner in this season is a dengue epidemic, which I am of opinion may kill more people than this COVID-19. Now, that is something that I would request all architects to think about, that we are in a tropical nation. What we need to respond to is our weather, our conditions. Start designing architecture based on the need of looking at some of these emerging issues, one of them being climate change and increasing global temperatures. Because what it is going to do is to hike up the insect population dramatically, and we are going to have a big problem of that around the corner. So I guess, I'm kind of disrupted the base of all that is being about. Now,
all right, but
we get more pragmatic later about.
All right, not a
I'm not
problem.
here to talk biology, but I would love to talk biology at some point in time. If you want, I would love to do a session on epidemiology and how epidemics move across the cities. But that is maybe for a later day. Okay, so I'll not bother you beyond that. Let's move on.
Okay. So coming to Amit, Amit, what's your take and how unprepared were you for this situation? Amit? Amit, can you hear me?
Yeah, I'm able to hear you. You're able to hear me? Hello?
Yeah, I can hear you now.
Yeah, good. So firstly, I would like to take it in a way, most of the panelists who have discussed here, they all have pointed at a micro level. They are all relating things to the field of architecture only. Firstly, I would like to take it I would like to discuss it on a more broader perspective. I think a lot has been said and discussed on different news channels. We have all had discussions in different debates as well on COVID-19 and things related with architecture because of that. But the thing is, firstly, we should be able to take this thing more mentally. We have to get stronger. We have to be able to adapt to the circumstances. We have to take the things which are being offered to us right now in the form of COVID-19 and things related to that as part of our lives now. So, see, human beings are the most adaptable and refined animals, right? There was a message which was moving on in the WhatsApp. I think it is about 1.5 months old for somebody who was born in 1910. He was the person who had to go through the economic crisis of 2019. He had to go through World War One. He had to go through World War Two, independence fight, 65 war, and still there are people who are surviving out of all those things, right? So right now there was plague also at that time. I think it was in earlier 19th century or something like that. So firstly, we have to try to win this situation mentally. We have to get stronger rather than get weaker. And once we are able to do that, we will be able to take out a lot many different options related to that. Now I'll refer to the earthquake which we see. We all are from Gujarat right now, so I can take this point very much that we are the people who had faced the earthquake in 2000, right? So 2002. So the thing is, if you remember in 2000, it was in 2000 when we faced the earthquake. The thing was that nobody would like to go and shift to the apartment. There were so many new things which were proposed by the government. There were so many things which were related for us. Earlier, we used to sign only on 3 papers. Then after that, after the earthquake, we are signing on not less than 10 papers now. And then after the RERA, we are doing it furthermore. See, we have to take and try to win this mentally first. Then think of taking it up with technology, trying to find out ways, trying to discuss the environment. The moment we are able to win it mentally, we will be able to find ways and means.
All right.
Let's pick up.
Yeah. Okay.
Now talking of architecture, right? So when we talk of architecture, the very more technology and everything else will be part of this. Working from home, not working from home, using more better technologies. These are things which are debatable and it can always be disputed. We all will never be able to come on a certain page for that. Firstly, now the working system will change. Working system will change in the way that now the staff, we will have to take them all as part of the system. They will be part of our growth. We will never be able to take them as our employees now. Why we will not be able to take them as employees? See, I will tell you. We have been working from home for the last 2 months. I'm sure you all are working from home for last 2 months.
Amit, can I interrupt and kind of come to that? Yeah, because my next question is coming to that only, and I think I'll continue this next question to you in that part only. That how does one run a practice now? So my next question is that how does one run a practice now? There's so many things attached to it now. Obviously, safety protocols that come in. Obviously, investing in technology that is going to come in. There are some common expenses that kind of are going to be there for always. The pays that pay out to the staff, the appraisals, the perks, even the legal implications. I think Samir can talk better about the legal implications. But in this situation, how does a practice kind of just stays afloat? How do you kind of motivate your team? How do you kind of keep them up with intellectual exercises? Emotionally, you were talking about emotions and you were talking about positivity, and obviously finance, which is going to be the biggest aspect with no work or probably very less work or long vision of kind of new projects not starting. How do you really keep a practice afloat? So I think you can continue with that aspect.
See, Vatsal, I'll again carry on with the adaptability part, what I was discussing. See, only 3 months back, if we used to come across an NRI who had come from US or who had come from Europe, and he used to discuss with us that we are doing everything on our own, housekeeping, cooking, everything. We do not get our time here. So every time when we used to talk about something like this, we always used to say, "Yeah, so बहुत convenient है. We have got so many maid servants and all these things." But over the last 2 months, 2.5 months, whatever we have faced through lockdown, we have been able to say that, see that we are able to do each and everything what those guys were talking of. And the dependency on people who we used to call as our helpers is no more there. We are cleaning our own cars, we are cleaning our own houses, we are helping our wives in cooking food, we are helping them with each and everything. So similarly, same thing gets repeated to our office as well. That we will be, firstly, we will have to make sure that we will have to form a team. The basic purpose of forming a team is that you are no more hiring employees. When you hire employees, then you give them salaries, whether it is based on a fixed amount per month on an hourly basis. The moment you make them a family, they become part of your growth. We, in the last 2 months, we all have observed it very well that work from home does not work in Indian conditions, right? And for a field like ours, which is architecture, work from home is very difficult to maintain. So the moment you make them part of the profit, you make them part of the overall growth. So whether they are working at office or whether they are working at home, it is fine to them, because they do realize that if we do not work, if the boss is not going to earn, even we are not going to earn. So I do not find any logic in saying that we should cut their salaries or we should reduce their perks and things like that. We should make them part of the overall growth. Hello. Hello.
Okay, I get. I understand. I am listening to you also. It's fine.
So,
Yeah.
so we should try and make them part of our growth. That should be the bottom line.
Okay, fantastic. So, I mean, extending family, bringing them in terms of all the aspects of the business, all the aspects of the practice. I would like to move this to Snehal. Snehal, you also are running a fairly big practice. And how have you kind of coped up with this idea of continuing this practice in the same fashion? What are the essential changes that you are going to bring about? And the question still remains, I mean, how do you kind of keep the practice afloat with lesser work and the standard expense that one practice has to incur? Snehal? Snehal, can you hear me? Okay, I think Bimal Bhai can take that up. Bimal Bhai, your take.
Yes, I can. Snehal had rightfully pointed out about finding resilient financial systems for your own practice. Now, unfortunate part of our education system in professional colleges is that finance or understanding of finance is not really taught here. A newly graduate architect or a designer will have no clue about what it takes to set up a practice. Most architects cannot read a balance sheet. Now, I mean, most of them laugh it off as that this is not their work, but it is an important part of private practice to understand personal finance as well as professional finance. One thing is that it will help you to build resilient models, as Snehal rightfully said. It will also help you to understand viability of projects. There are a number of times when we face clients or when we are approached by clients who have overambitious projects, which we invest into in terms of our creative input, and then we are not left with anything. But if you have some basic knowledge of finance, that will help you understand or filter out what the viability of a project is. So if you understand finance well, you will be able to come up with a model. You will be able to perhaps build a model so that, say, a few months of no work or no fees, you will be able to still float your keep your float, keep your office. I agree with Amit that yes, you have to treat your team as as part of family. Now, for that to happen, they need to understand what your practice stands for. They need to understand what are the inherent values of practice. The moment they identify themselves with that common goal or common agenda, they will become better team partners. And once,
All right.
if they have better knowledge of finance, they will be able to understand the challenges that any practice faces in a more in a better way. As far as the salaries or as far as outgoes goes, yes, it will vary from practice to practice. You will have number of scenarios where you have employees where this the entire livelihood is based on the salary that they get. At the same time, there'll be senior people who get more than what is required. So then they cut, if at all, if that happens, if not today or tomorrow, will have to be subjective. So that will again vary from practice to practice. But I feel that a basic understanding of finance as a subject is very essential for professionals.
All right. Snehal, can you hear me now? Are you there?
Yes, I'm there. Sorry, it dropped out. So you might have to repeat the question briefly, please.
Okay. So the question is that how does one keep the practice afloat in this situation? How does one kind of survive? How does one float? આપણે ગુજરાતીમાં કહીએ એમ હાથ પર ક્યાં મારવાના?
Right.
We have a lot of things which are already there on our kind of shoulders. Those things obviously will still remain, but some new things will be adding on. You said artificial intelligence or new software that kind of come up, new technologies that we might have to adopt. That is going to be a new investment a practice has to make, right? The safety protocols that are to be followed, that is going to be an investment that practice has to make. And then the challenges of keeping the team motivated emotionally, kind of intellectually, financially. How does one handle that situation?
Okay. So there are two very important halves to complete the whole answer. The first one is a philosophical one, and the second is a business sense. Am I audible?
Yeah, you are audible. Yeah.
Okay. So on a philosophical point of view, see, we are a team of about 40 members, and we've been working from home since 21st March, 4 days before the lockdown. So now we don't have the attendance system, we don't have the biometrics. So there were obvious concerns about how people are performing, because lot is at stake at the end of the month. So that is where we are actually 8 partners in the company. Mm-hmm. And 8 of us were on the same ground that this is the time where we got to exhibit our trust in our people. Yes. It's an 18-year-old practice. And I believe whatever we've achieved in all those years is purely and purely because of the team which had been there at different points of time. So from this point of view, if you try to understand that if they are so important for you, you didn't pay them double salaries when you did very well. So it is the right to be paid now when there is a problem. So from this point of view, we are very clear about this, that this is the firm's problem, not the people, the team members' problem. So we may even take it from the bank to pay them. We dare not tell them that we're going to cut your salaries, or because there's an immense sense of gratitude within us. Before the lockdown, we called everyone on 21st of March and said, look, we see that there is going to be a bigger problem, and we are not sure how long this is going to last, but we will stand by you come what may. That is the kind of assurance or the trust which the team needs. Now, this being part of our thinking process right from the beginning, we must have tried at least 8 to 10 different models to share revenue or profits with them. After that, we reached a formal partnership model of an LLP, wherein anybody who serves us for 5 years is eligible to claim that he wants to become a partner. It's not a choice that we have कि भाई अन्य partner बनना है. So that is the kind of system we worked out.
Okay. Are you still speaking? I can't hear you.
Talking about resilience, we've been saving for the last 10 years for the today, 8 months to get there.
Okay.
Can you hear me now?
Yeah, I can hear you now. Okay. All right.
Should I continue?
Yeah, please.
Okay, so I don't know what is the last thing you heard.
So you said you
but
will
basically
saving for 10 years, and that is what
for
you
the
saved.
10 years, yes.
Yeah.
Yes, which is now being used. So all of us are at a lot of peace right now, and that is how we're able to focus. So it's a business plan, and it is also the sense of gratitude towards the people. These two things, they combine to become the whole, and it is helping us think clearly.
Fantastic. So you kind of save for the future, you kind of build on that and take the team as a part of it, and it makes sense. But the question still remains that that is for today. I mean, how about the new projects? And I'll come to that in a bit, but I'll get Keyur inside now. Keyur, the size of the practice that you are handling, what is the model that you have chosen to kind of stay afloat, kind of continue this practice the way you are doing, or you have kind of made the changes in the terms of the team and the work that you're doing?
Yeah, right. So, see, we are a small practice. So, as opposed to, as Snehal was saying, we are 40. We are a team of 8. So, we are literally 1/5 the size of that. So, yes, there are pros and cons with each practice model. But obviously, with a practice or a studio, we call ourselves a studio of 8 people. There are less complexities involved. That's number one. Number two, most of the staff or most of the interior designers and architects that work with us are actually people who have trained with us. So after they graduate, they want to come back to us. So we already know them, and then there's always that feeling of a family. It's always prevalent over there. Ours is also a very organic practice in the sense that although there is an inherent structure to the way work happens within the team, because of the sheer size and scale of our studio, we don't have things like biometrics, we don't have things like attendance. We follow we tell people that we don't want you to work overtime. You need to have life after work. So you need to be efficient. And hence we have developed certain systems by which work, even pre COVID-19 times, even work used to happen very efficiently. So literally, and nobody really works overtime in our office.
No, but
about efficiency and
sorry, Keyur, but my question still is that in this situation that has changed now, how have you kind of evolved in terms of, because I'm sure that you're going to invest a lot of money now into new technologies. Maybe a safety protocol is going to be very essential as a mandatory thing. I mean, there are even talks about how do you kind of motivate the staff, how do you kind of handle their appraisals, the pays. So and surely the work has kind of really come to a standstill. So it still takes time to kind of gear up, and we are seeing at least 3-4 months before we kind of
I was coming to that. So as far as work having been dried up, I am fairly optimistic in the sense, yes, in the last 5 weeks, 6 weeks, work has stopped, but we've been in constant touch with the various agencies that work on our projects, and currently most of our projects are residential projects which were already on site. So as soon as the lockdown is released and the availability of material is not an issue, our sites will kickstart. So I think in that sense we are in a fortunate position. So I'm not worried too much about what will really happen after, say, a month or so. I see not much of a problem. And which is what I've discussed that with the staff, so that they don't lose the motivation, they don't get kind of depressed about it. In fact, we've told our staff that this is the best time to pick up a hobby or go back to what you really wanted to do. So if anybody wants to take a sabbatical or work only half time, that is absolutely fine. With regards to investments in technology, for our practice, I do not see that being a major factor, because whatever technology we have currently with us, I think it's sufficient for us even for the future. So we're not looking at investing in some really expensive softwares or any other sort of equipments. I think our overheads are going to be very much in place, and we have a cushion to kind of survive, at least if we talk purely in terms of financially, we have a cushion to survive at least for the next few months, and hopefully it will kickstart after that.
All right. Okay. So this brings Samir in, and Samir, I want to understand from you that though you practice law and you are into a different zone actually, but what do you think about how doesn't practice kind of fit all these aspects together and stay in tune with the situations that are coming about?
Okay, so I have no philosophical bone in my body, and I'll tell you exactly what I think without any confusion, because I think that is what people want to understand.
Exactly.
So the picture there is one thing you are not realizing, that the context is economy. So we have to understand what the economy will be like. What the economy will decide what the practice would be like, and the scale of practices. I think if the small practices are there, I don't think. See, small animals don't suffer too much when there is a paradigm shift, but bigger animals suffer. So I don't think that is such a big issue. But I'll tell you what will exactly happen as per my perspective. And the picture is basically 2 months, 6 months, and then 2 years.
Okay.
2 months picture. My very sincere recommendation to everybody is that do not hope to open your offices till June 1st. And I would say July 1st, not because COVID is deadly, but because there will be a mad rush at the hospitals, and there will be a crisis that is unnecessary, but it will be a systemic crisis that will be created, and you will have liabilities, etc. So best recommendation is that don't open your office till, frankly, August. So that is the 2 month situation. In these 2 months, depending on your financial situation, whatever takes you may take. But I would now not really worry about these 2 months, because that's too short a period. Anybody can while that period away. Now I'll talk about the next 6 months. What we are really seeing today, that is a crisis, is not the COVID-19, but is the migrant labor departure from the industrial areas and from the construction sites. We are worried about the construction sites more because that is directly touching us. But in reality, this is going to be a disruption for the industry, and industry is the fundamental, organ that would drive the economy. So if you really understand the industry, there are two sides. Rather, economy, there are two fundamental sides. One is the supply side, and another is the demand side. Demand sides can be deflated. It will be deflated because of the lockdown, but it can be resurrected as the time passes. But the supply side, if it is disrupted, if there are logistics and supply chains broken, then there will be a long time for Indian economy to come back. So next 6 months, there is going to be a situation where government is going to be constantly trying to bring in initiatives and maybe some lockdowns also. But on the whole, there will not be a situation where you will be able to predict your business models or position yourself. So if you are a businessman, not a professional with some kind of starry-eyed ideas about life, is that you will have to cut down your staff sizes. The market is going to see huge amount of layoffs, and layoffs are not some kind of crimes. Everybody is doing business. Somebody who is working for you is also working for money. So on those directions, every architect will have to become pragmatic and think and somehow survive this 6 months, because what is ahead those 6 months is where I am really wanting the architects to focus. See, I'm telling you that yesterday when Nirmala Sitharaman said that tenders up to 200 crores will not be internationally bidding, I did not see architects coming and saying, "Yay!" Why? Because we don't have architectural practices which are in that space, and that is because architects are not really understood. I would not again like to get into the systemic dimension of it, but I think this is the time for architects to get real and pitch yourself, organize your practices in such a way that you are there after 6 months when the market will erupt. The primary market that will erupt will be the economically weaker section construction, because now everybody would want migrant laborers to remain in their own cities. Gujarat has a specific problem. Again, I've written a lot, so somebody if is interested can look me up and look at these. But in reality, this is the situation that is unfolding before us. So if you are a medium-sized practice, I think you'll have to set aside about ₹1 million. But after that, there is a very rosy picture ahead for architects of India. And I've not see this compliances and this liabilities and all. Government will try to stick them in the initial phase. Nobody's going to comply to it. Ultimately, there'll be some period of inspector raj where people will walk into your offices and tell you that you are not complying. This is the fine and all. But even Spanish flu could not do it to humanity, and neither is COVID going to do this to humanity. We are not going to be a wiser, smarter race which is going to turn this planet green. And India simply would not be able to afford it. So it's going to be just as bad as it was. Be prepared for doing good business. I would really love if Indian architects are pitching in the 200 crore category after 6 months. That is what would be the real hope for Indian architecture. So go for it. This is all momentary. 10 lakh rupees, I think, is fine. Or government has given money if architects are brave enough to pick it up. Go ahead and do that. Don't get this pessimistic, dramatic, understanding of life. Nothing like that happens. Earthquake happened. I thought the structural industry will change. I can buy any structural designer to sign a drawing for 5,000 rupees in Ahmedabad today. That is us, good old humans. We like that. Okay.
All right. So Samir coming here at his best now.
No,
so
I'm not ashamed. That's the only problem.
That's why you're here. That's why you're here.
So I think we can move on.
I want Snehal to reflect on this and the size of the practice that you're talking about, a 40 member team. Snehal, can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you.
So yeah, as Samir is saying that you've been prepared for yesterday. You prepared yesterday for today. But what about tomorrow? And when things, when the economy does not move, and the wheels are kind of clogged, how do you look at the survival aspect of the practice?
I think I look at this opportunity as a tremendous opportunity. Right. For me, this is a wonderful time for the profession to do some course corrections. Mm-hmm. Whatever Samir said, I agree to an extent, but those are exactly the problems which needs to be corrected. If you really want to do well, you got to do it right. So it's absolutely an opportunity to offload a lot of unnecessary baggages we carry as a professional. That architect is a hero, architect is the guy who makes amazing things, and then there are 20,000 architects getting added, and all of them come with an aspiration of Howard Rock. Now that is something which is so bad. There are so many roles in the construction industry where architect can fit in. So it's a time full of opportunities. We got to educate our young architects and the upcoming architects about what the options are. For me, the world is now a real even playground. If you are emotionally strong, adaptive, believe in continuous learning, and of course, if you are compassionate, you can do wonders. That is what I firmly believe. In fact, the advantage for the older and larger firms is now diminishing fast, and it's getting better for the young practices. There are a lot of things which I could suggest where the young architects or the young practices or even practices like us, which is a medium duration practice, could look forward to. For example, we could, number one, collaborate with different disciplines and discover and invent new business models. We have been living in silos as architects, but if we open up ourselves, in fact, I wrote to COA recently, they've put a draft about amendments to the 1972. So they have put LLPs as only LLPs, which has all architects. Why 72 was different, today is different? If you're not open to being multidisciplinary, it doesn't work now. Then you can get into design build solutions, which is so much important. Why does the client have to deal with 5 different agencies to do a project? There are now full alternative
I'm losing your voice again, Snehal.
revenue models. For instance, I know firms which charge part of the energy bills you are able to. Can you hear me? Am I audible?
Now
Okay.
it's good. Yeah.
Sorry. So now there are these firms which have started working on alternative revenue models. I know a few firms which design a building for a client, and they charge a part of the energy bills that they save for the client over the next 10 years, 20 years. And these are very interesting models which are coming up. Then this is the best time for an architect to become a real estate developer. Now is when the value will be unlocked of the efforts which we put in, and not by the 10 rupee or 20 rupee a square feet they pay us. That's not where we add real value.
Okay.
Areas like product and furniture design is another area where
some issue with your audio, I guess.
Possibilities, considering the digital media. Okay, am I audible?
Yeah, now back.
Okay.
So
the fifth point, fifth point is about. Sorry, go ahead. Let me just finish two more points.
Okay.
So first, the fifth point is about the design journalism, which is coming out in a very big way, considering the social media and the digital platform. Get into coding. If you get into softwares, you can do gaming design, etc. So there are a lot of options which are now open, and big and old firms do not have any advantage anymore.
True.
That is my point.
Okay. So that brings me to the next question, which I think I'll continue with you only. That what is the light at the end of the tunnel? How does one kind of look at the road ahead? What does it look like actually after the COVID is over, or probably it's a part of our life? And being a part of the industry that we are in, mostly it's a non-essential item, a luxury thing that interiors and architecture is considered. How relevant will we be to the business? You've been talking about other models, but if you just stick to basics, are we kind of looking at a rosy picture, or what is the picture that we are looking at?
I think on a fundamental level, roti, kapda, or makan, that is what we always heard as the basic necessities of a human being. And makan construction, in fact, India is going to build another 70% of what it has built already in all these years in the next 30 years. So that is the rosy picture for you, for India. The thing is, we need to figure out very proactively where we fit in with all the technological disruptions. That is where the real key lies. So the people who are able to figure it out are going to do very well. The people who try to stick to the traditional practices may not do so.
Your problem.
That is what my understanding. Yeah, and for this, I think I have a point to make about how we've been looking at it. I do have a philosophical bone within, and I'm proud about it. See, we've always been trained to do well financially. And in the last few years, we've started taking care of our health. So we've been earning health and wealth. But we've not been trained as a societal value to work on our spirituality. If I'm definitely going to use this opportunity to encourage more and more people to pursue very seriously spirituality and earn it for their life, just like you save for your retirement. This is a very important saving which one needs to start making now. And this is actually something which helps you. See, this may not be the last COVID which we are seeing. Who knows? there'll be a bigger
Yeah.
one in the next 5 years.
Yes.
So this
True,
is
true, true.
a very important point which I wanted to make. Thank you.
Thank you, Snehal. Thank you. So, coming back to Samir. Samir, you heard Snehal now. He's talking about spirituality. He's talking about a fantastic road ahead. What is your take now on the road ahead? What is the future that we see as an architect, as designers? How does one kind of figure that out, that really life is not going to be as bad as it is imagined? Samir?
See, the point that am I audible? Yeah, I think
Yeah.
the point that I would like to make is that this world is a very large place, okay, and it has ecosystems that is conducive to every kind of animal. You could be philosophical, you could be materialistic, you could be anybody. There is a room for it. We have lot to do. Humanity will keep on constructing, so that this no, people are not going to be end up in some kind of a uniformity that everybody would have to play the same game. Everybody
Alright.
can play different games. If Snehal Bhai is interested, I recorded a lot of videos on Indian philosophies recently, and they are on my YouTube on Dvait, Advait, and I teach a lot of Indian philosophies. So that is a great direction to get into. And architects are maybe, I love architects for what they are, because obviously I'm married to one also. So I understand where all this comes from. My only problem is that we have tons of young kids who are coming into business. Okay, you and I have no problem. I don't think you can retire, I can retire. The world is not going to change for us. But the point is that these guys are coming into this profession. They are genuine, practical, pragmatic problems, and this is something that has come to them as a big shock, for which, as you have said, they are not prepared for it. So I would just like to kind of, point out that disruptions are part of the game, and we are designed to deal with the disruptions. Like what somebody said in the very beginning, I would not really rate artificial intelligence to come in that way, but a lot of technological disruptions are ahead. And frankly speaking, if we do one on economy, then we should realize that this COVID has actually come into the world economy at the right time, because there is huge recession ahead. But now every country is going to be pumping in money into their economy. So this was something inevitable. If even regardless of what happened, we were virtually in the 1991 situation. And all this is very much, there's nothing alien happening on this planet. All this is very much in the line of things that have happened and are happening. All that, realistically people would like to know at this point of time is that what do they do tomorrow? And what do they do with money?
Exactly.
So that is the only part I am trying to focus on. But otherwise, architecture is a way of life, just like Hinduism. It is a deep thing. You can really appreciate your life as a professional. I don't think that is available to anybody else. So if that is your bone, then you are the luckiest guy on this planet. This is the finest profession to be in, and you should really enjoy it. So that is what I would tell all the young kids, that it's a great place to be in mentally, and enjoy it, and economically don't mess it up. So that is where I'm coming from.
So you say you trade with kind of a little caution, and you'll be fine.
What I'm saying is that while this 6 months away, while 2 months, you don't even while it away, be extremely careful, because if you fall ill at this point of time, nothing will happen to you. Nothing will happen to you, but you will go through a trauma because the systems are disrupted. Okay. The hospitals are in a complete mess. The way government is dealing with this situation, using only government machinery and not engaging private sector, things are becoming very complicated. They have to sort their game out, but till they sort it out, if any of you fall ill, or your staff member falls ill, then it will be very complicated. So that is an unnecessary complication, avoidable for 2 months. Next 6 months, while it away, and after that, there is a glorious, rosy picture of India available for you to exploit. And I would love to do one on epidemics that are around the corner, because they come every year. And
surely.
100 viruses which are more scary than COVID. So any point of time we want to do it, I would love to do it.
Thank you, Samir. So now I'll move to Keyur. And Keyur, understand from your perspective that the situations Samir is talking about and Snehal is talking about, do you see that kind of positivity or that future to kind of really be happy, or at least be positive about?
Yeah, totally. I think for a start, I would say this is not the end of the world, and I think I see a lot of light at the end of the tunnel. As I said earlier, I expect that as far as the interior design projects work is concerned, as soon as the lockdown is over, there'll be an opportunity to start that on site. Some of the architecture projects might get delayed because you have monsoon coming in. You have maybe the projects have basements. You don't want to take a risk digging in the basement. But keeping that aside, 6 months down the line, things will start rolling back easily to normalcy. Fundamentally, this is not economy. People are saying that the recession is going to be there because of this, but it's not because of fundamental issues with the economy or the banking or the finance sector. Like if you compare it with the 2008 2009 recession, this has come up because of the COVID-19 crisis, and people are waiting to bounce back. Everybody, whether it is a small karyana wala or a big business person, they are all waiting to bounce back, kickstart, and get back to normal. So I think it's very much fine. And last thing is, we have to, just like we accepted swine flu as a part of our ecosystem, we have to accept even this as a flu as a part of our ecosystem. We can't do anything much more unless we have the vaccine. So until we don't have the vaccine, all we can do is pay attention on our health, boost our immunity, take all the precautionary measures, and just as Midway is saying, avoid falling sick in the next few months at least. That's all we can do, and be hopeful. Yeah.
Okay. So Amit, coming to you, you've been running a fairly sizable practice in Baroda and one of the top firms in Baroda. How do you see the future ahead in that aspect of after 6 months or so? What is the road ahead looking like? Amit? Yes, Amit.
वत्सल, देखो पेट भरा होता है ना तो आइडियाज बहुत अच्छे अच्छे आते हैं. So I will specifically mention Snehal bhai because I have found him to be a very optimistic man, and he has talked of not many diversification. See, if the economy is good, then why we need to diversify altogether? Because sort of profession we are doing it or we are into, and if we are good at it, so we have got lot many scopes here in this business itself, right? The problem is that we are looking at a poor economy. So if I have to put my money for the next 6 months, then I'll put my money on the advices what Samir Shukla has said very specifically. Because any firm which is able to survive for another 6 months by whatever means, whatever thought process the firm goes through, then they are going to be facing a very bright tunnel ahead. Because you read lot many things in newspapers that not many investments are expected to come here to our country, and if those investments come here, then we are definitely in for a lot many benefits out of that, because we are all part of infrastructure. And as very rightly Snehal said, roti, kapda or makan, they are three basic things. So you cannot ignore makan when you talk of roti and kapda. So things are going to be fantastically good in future. Absolutely no doubt about that. But only thing is we have to think of next 6 months only, how we are able to take it further. I would not agree to Samir Shukla's one advice that laying off the staff is what he specifically mentioned, that they are also working for salaries and they are also working for money. See, here I will support Snehal Shah that they all have been part of our growth wherever we are. We are a practice of 40 associates in our office right now. So they all have been part of our growth. So if they have been part of our growth, so they have to be with us and we have to be with them in these miserable times. So we are not looking at layoff by all means. Only thing is, okay, we will have to formulate a system wherein we can work as a family, wherein we do not become bosses, we all are together in profits, and basic takeaway is guaranteed, and the balance part becomes part of the overall growth what the firm is going to see. So I am optimistic about future after this. Absolutely. Yes.
So what you're saying is that you have to manage your 6 months ahead smartly. Is that the way I can understand that? You don't really kind of lay them off, but you pay them smartly so that they are also satisfied. You are also kind of keeping the team together. And then once this kind of really kind of whiles away, you take things further.
Vatsal, basically, it is not something which is related with an individual office only. We are going to face labor problems in next 6 months. We are going to face supply chains in the next 6 months. How emotionally the associates or the boys or the girls who are in your office, they are so much disturbed. They will not be comfortable in going for site visits. So most of us have got young staff at our office. Even if they wish to go, their parents would not allow them. The liabilities what government is going to impose on us as the proprietor of the company are going to be immense. They have already said that all medical insurances have to be taken care of by this thing. Earlier, it was even said that if somebody is found with a disease at your office, then liability comes on the proprietor. So they backed out of that this thing after the industrialists they went against it. See, we are going to face lot many things in the next 6 months. We are not sure of, and the liabilities related to that are going to be much more higher than the profits that we are looking at it. So we have to be careful. I do not agree on Samir Shukla's opinion that we should be closed to September, October, or whatever he says. I think August is what he was saying, that we should be closed till. So this is not what we are looking at. We are fighters. We have to fight it out. We are all human beings. We have got brains. We can all formulate systems how we work out of it. But 6 months are going to be difficult. Absolutely.
All right. So lastly, coming to you, Bimal bhai, and that's where I kind of look for wise advice. What's your take? You heard everybody, and how does the road kind of, is it green, is it yellow, is it red? What is it that we are looking at?
I agree with almost all the panelists. I am very optimistic about all the projects getting back on. I mean, I particularly agree with Keyur. As far as interior design projects are concerned, they will be back on track in no time at all. For real estate projects also, looking at the size of projects, they are all well-funded projects. The fundings have been worked out by the real estate developers well in detail. So I doubt whether they will also be withheld for a long period of time. The only challenge will be the labor force. Once they run out of the rations that Sitaraman has given them, they will come back. I mean, they will see, I mean, as Samir has been saying, that they will also be able to realize the less danger that is really there. And ultimately, they will have to earn money somewhere. They will come back for work. So even those projects will be back on track. I doubt whether building typologies are going to change overnight because of all this COVID-19 situations. Houses will be houses, offices will continue to be the same offices. The moment a vaccine is out for COVID-19, it will be a forgotten page in history, and we will wait for something else. So till then, like everybody has said, get your finances in order. Try to just sail. I mean, everyone is saying 6 months, but that 6-month period will vary from practice to practice. Some practices may have projects which are already on board, which are already halfway through. Those practices will perhaps be better off. There will be practices which will have majority of the projects on board stage itself. That may take more time. So 6 months is a period which is, let's say, which gives you something to plan for, but it may vary from practice to practice. But just get your finances in order. Get, as Snehal has been saying philosophically, yes, invest this time in yourself. Stop watching less webinars and plan ahead. Yeah.
All right, thank you. Those are the wise words from Bimal bhai, which I was looking for. And I'll summarize this once we have some. Chirag, do we have any questions that we need to kind of shoot out to the panel before we summarize and wrap up?
Yeah, we have some questions. Do you want me to go ahead with them?
Yeah, please.
Yeah, so the first question is from our, secretary himself, Devdutt. If he's here, he can elaborate it himself. But his question is specifically to Samir bhai and also Bimal bhai, is that how is the MSME going to be relevant to us, and how can we get benefited from that? Devdutt, if you want to elaborate a little bit on that.
No, I just want the feedback or the point of views from the seniors of the industry. All five of them can, if they're able to give me some insight from that.
Okay, Bimal bhai, you would want to answer that?
Understanding of it, but as I understand, the definition of MSME has been enlarged to include sector also into it. The definitions of the turnover and the investments have been revised. So so architectural practices will be able to register themselves as MSME. I don't know about any other benefit apart from the borrowings that borrowings without any collaterals that will be available to MSMEs. But you need to understand that they are still borrowings. So you need to get your financial right, that you will need to somehow return that money. It's not something that MSME will be given a particular amount of money. Borrowings will become simpler, but you need to work out a financial plan of how to use those borrowings. That is my understanding. I think Samir bhai will have a better understanding of MSME.
Samir, would you want to answer that?
There's no legal matter here, but reality is that architects are not going to get anything out of this, this huge benefits that are given to this industry because of the historical baggage that COA has given you, and I've tried relieving you of without success. So the kind of business model that is available to you doesn't really permit this advantage of the business advantages, and you are not really. I would not recommend architects. I know architects. I would not recommend them to get into getting any benefits. But let me get slightly more personal here about what I'm seeing around the corner, because I'm watching our President Habib Khan to be working in a certain direction, and I have understood some other political alignments that exist in this background. And the way Architects Act revision has been proposed, I can see that we are trying to create some kind of backdoor, room for practicing architecture under the banner of MSME. So, see, please understand that this static view of government that architects have is not really what I want them to have, because you are a fraternity. If you are a guild, you are a fraternity. You could go to the government and get what you want in the MSME package or any damn package that you want, provided that you act like a fraternity. This entire debate that what they have done for us, we are trying to figure out, is not really the meaningful debate. The meaningful debate is that what should we go and ask the government to do for us? So start thinking like that, and you will get this. I've done extensive work in trying to revise this business models. I think Ahmedabad chapter, a lot of people are aware, I've floated around the models also, but they are not there. But one limited take is that at this point in time, there is nothing in it for you, but that does not mean that there should be nothing in it for you. You can go and ask the government what you want, provided that you become a fraternity. So,
all right.
collect your problems and go and do it.
Okay. I take your point, Samir. That is a separate subject anyway altogether. But especially to answer your question, Devdutt, MSME benefits we kind of have listed in an IIA circular that we'll kind of share to you. And also we are planning a similar kind of understanding of finances and this stimulus package that has come about, so that our fraternity at large kind of benefits from that. Yeah, thank you. Chirag, any more questions?
Yeah. There are now concerns from architects and designers which were put forward at probably at a little bit of a micro level also. But one of the questions is and which all of the panelists have been elaborating on is about keeping their practicing surviving for the next 6 months. Now, one of the questions from Snehal Joshi is that there is this whole issue of labor and the migration of the labor that is happening right now throughout the country. So how will it impact our sites? How do you handle that force which is not completely in your control? Is there any kind of input from any of the panelists regarding specific labor migration and the issue that has been arisen from that?
Is it directed to anyone specific?
Not directed to anyone.
Okay, so then I can answer that. And obviously, as we all understand that this migration that has happened is kind of really the panic that has set in, and obviously those things that are not fulfilling your needs on a daily basis is what will kind of really change the situation, because I'm sure that the river of migration is on its way, and with the things that we will bring about as a fraternity or as an industry, that Samir was talking about, that migrants housing would be a very essential part of the EWS that will come up. So I'm sure that this is a temporary phase, and probably 2-3 months down the line, once the reverse migration comes about, it will be not an issue anymore.
Okay. The next question is from actually Bhavin Prajapati, and that question is something which about smaller practices, and I believe that there is going to be a bigger actually financial crunch, and the overheads, and that I think the question I would like it to actually direct it to Snehal Bhai. Reason being of the recent SOP that was formulated by them. Is that about how to manage the smaller points of staff salaries, office timings, the perks that we used to give them. So all of those little points are something which are concerned from even actually larger practices as well. So how do you manage the finances? Could Snehal Bhai come in?
Yeah, actually, that is the biggest matter of worry which most of the architects whom I come across have. Because what is done is done. There is no provision made for this kind of situation. This is really, I feel, it's going to test your character and how you look at your people. So everybody has their own way of looking at things, people, staff. I've already spoken in my earlier talk how we look at people. So if situations require you need to borrow, I guess you must borrow. What is wrong with that? And if you borrow, it's not that you have any guilt inside and you want to take and you want to be a defaulter or something. It's a situation which you need to calmly weather, make your calculations, find out a leanest possible model of family set, and just ultimately, if you are focused and if you love your profession, I don't see there is going to be a problem. But keeping a stable head and trying to stay away from the worry and figuring out how to do that is, I think, a very interesting opportunity that you have right now.
Okay. Chirag, I also would want to add to this.
Yeah, sure.
So the point.
Yeah, hello.
Yeah, Bimal Bhai is also wants
to
come.
Bimal Bhai,
yes,
yeah,
Bimal
please.
Yeah, see, as Snehal rightfully pointed out, it's in all practices. Apart from your designing abilities, all what clients as well as your employees, your teammates, what they look for is dependability on you as a person. So how dependable you are. Even your clients look at you not just for your design abilities, but your dependability over a period of time, over the project, over how you complete that, how you address issues. So once you address that as a core value of this, I think most of your other things will be in place. If you want to continue to be person, will need to take all possible measures to address those issues, as Snehal rightfully said. So I agree there. So that's the, I mean, the basic ethics of your practice will have to be sorted out by yourself.
Okay, I was about to say
Yeah.
on the similar lines. I think we can move on to the next question.
Actually, Amit bhai wants to come in. Samit, you can unmute yourself, please, to answer. Please unmute yourself. Yeah. Yes, Amit.
Basically, addressing to the question of how we should be able to manage a small office. Now, it is the right time that we should try to relate our profession with how other businesses are run. So what we should do is, for an office, which is a small office, I would not advise that they should go on borrowing money from banks. This is the last thing that they should look at, because we may be optimistic at our level, but we do not know how the market is going to respond. So we cannot be sure of how well we will be, how comfortable we will be paying the EMIs if we start borrowing money from different sources. So what we should do is, if we are managing a small office, we should look at the smallest liability that is created, so that the staff that we have, they are able to run their own houses, and they are not removed from our office. And we should try to relate incentives related with the performance of the office on a monthly basis. Like supposingly, it is a hypothetical figure that I am saying, that supposingly a person, his family is able to run out of 10,000 rupees. So that should be the minimum money that we should be able to shell out to that gentleman. And the source of and the amount of income that we create every month in our office, that will be because of the coordinated efforts of ours as well as our staff, and some percentage of that should be shared with them, instead of creating a liability of maybe 25,000 or 30,000 per month of that particular gentleman. So this way, we will also be at peace as employers, and he will also be comfortable, because he knows that if my office is going to run, if my office is going to get more projects, then I am going to get more money. See, this idea, how I am trying to relate this idea. Long back when I was in Dubai, I heard the driver of one of the taxis who was driving, long back, maybe 15-20 years back, कि हमको महीने का 10,000 रुपया मिलता है. तो हमने उससे पूछा, तो भाई तुम महीने में, तुम पाकिस्तान से यहाँ आए हो, तुम यहाँ टैक्सी चलाते हो, तो तुम 10,000 रुपया तो तुम पाकिस्तान में भी कमा सकते हो. तो उसने ऐसा बोला कि नहीं सर, हम जितना भी गाड़ी चलाते हैं, 10,000 रुपये हमारा मिनिमम रहा, उसके ऊपर में जितना भी हम कमाते हैं उसका सम परसेंटेज हमको मिलता है. तो हमने उससे पूछा कि तो तुमको महीने का कितना पैसा मिलता है. तो बोलता है 30 से 35,000 रुपये हमको महीने का हमारी इनकम हो जाती है. तो हमारा क्वेश्चन कैसे आया कि वो कैमरी चला रहा था उस जमाने में. तो हमने बोला ये गाड़ी की कैसी है, अच्छी है गाड़ी. कैमरी उस जमाने में हमारे लिए बहुत बड़ी चीज हुआ करती थी, 20 साल पहले की हम लोग बात कर रहे हैं. बोला साहब 6 लाख किलोमीटर ये 3 साल में चल लेती है. 3 साल में 6 लाख, तो 6 लाख. तो बोलता है कि साहब जितना टाइम हम खाना खाते हैं उतने टाइम ही इसका इंजन बंद रहता है. एक कार में 2 शिफ्ट के ड्राइवर्स रहते हैं, और 12 घंटे में उन लोगों को जितना पैसा कमाना है, जितना घूमना है, वो घुमा सके. तो जितना उनका मीटर रन करता है उसके विषय उनको सैलरी मिलती है. तो बेसिक सैलरी दुबई गवर्नमेंट ने उनके लिए 10,000 रुपये फिक्स की थी, बट उसके ऊपर में परफॉर्मेंस बेस्ड इंसेंटिव जो था, दैट अमाउंटेड टू अनदर 20,000 rupees, 25,000 rupees. So that made a cumulative of 35,000 rupees for him. So similarly, same thing can be reflected at our office as well, कि हम उसको बेसिक सैलरी दे दें, so that हमारी लाइबिलिटी भी ज्यादा क्रिएट नहीं हो, हमको बैंक से कोई बोरोइंग नहीं करनी पड़े, और हम काम तो करने ही वाले हैं, वो भी काम करने वाला है. अगर वो काम करने वाला है और हमारा ऑफिस अच्छा रन करता है, and if we are able to earn good amount of money, certain percentage of that should be proportionally distributed amongst them, depending upon the sort of experience that they have. So this is the formula that I would do.
Fantastic. Okay. Yeah.
I think we just have time to take just actually one more one more question. I'll let Amrish come in. Amrish, he has something specific to ask. Amrish, are you there?
Yeah.
Can you ask the question? Yeah, Amrish, go on.
Am I audible?
Yes, please.
Yeah. Thank you all of you for giving such a good insight for all the doubts we had for the next 6 or 8 months for our practice. Specifically, I just wanted to ask that in one of our panelists' point that the point came that the builders may get the bank support for the projects which are running or for the future projects or something. But there are so many interior designers in our right now in the meeting also and all over the place. So the major part will be of the private projects also, the private interiors I'm talking about, the private bungalows or the other things. So if those people are like, so the financial crisis is, I feel, is a chain of crisis because everybody is interdependent. So how it is going to help the private sector or the private project clients, which will ultimately give us the project in future. So because what I feel is if the work from home is the new maybe the system or the trend will come up, then the commercial spaces, the use of commercial spaces will be reduced in a way. And again, the food and restaurants and all those projects also will be get affected because of this COVID and virus things. So those projects also will be, I feel, for next 6 to 8 months will have some problem. So how we can deal with this private sector also?
Okay, I think Keyur had some good point of view on the interiors that are going to kind of initiate as soon as this kind of gets over. Keyur, would you want to answer that?
I don't. Sorry. Am I?
Yes, yes, you're audible.
Yeah.
Okay. So see, again, as I think as far as interiors is concerned, and that to interiors of private homes or bungalows or projects for high net worth individuals, I don't think it's going to have a major long term impact. We are talking about only a very short term impact, and that too purely from the point of view that the sites, those which are under execution or about to hit start, might have a bit of a hiccup in terms of starting back, either due to unavailability of material supply or maybe some sort of labor shortages. But other than that, I think a home is always a dream for any person. And yes, this current situation might have affected our prospective clients, but they will come back after 6 months or maximum 8 months. They will definitely come back. So that's not going to be an issue. Likewise, you're talking about the commercial spaces and probably the new typology of working from home. I don't think, I would wish, but I don't think that the typology of the commercial development is going to change drastically in India. Yes, people like me and people like others might actually choose to have offices or continue to have offices as a part of their homes, but I don't think it's going to change drastically. So commercial development again will pick up, but again after post Diwali, I'm sure this is going to pick up. The same things for restaurants or hospitality industry. I think as human beings, I always feel that our memories are very short term. I think 6 months down the line, we all will be okay going to restaurants. Yes, we will probably take more care in terms of sanitizing our hands, and we'll probably be a bit choosy about which restaurants we want to go to, but we will still go, and hence there will always be a demand of new hospitality spaces and restaurant spaces. So I do not see a major impact on the scope of interior design or the availability of projects to interior designers 6 or 8 months down the line.
Yes, Amit. You can. Amit, you need to unmute. Yeah. Yes, Amit. You can start.
I will address to the gentleman who had put this question to us, and then I will try to relate it with what Keyur has said. See, I have one difference in point of view in what Keyur has been saying. Yes, this is a vicious circle basically for developers who are already into the project and who already have a lot of money, but at the end of the day, they are all big business. They are all there to sell their project. There is no job security in all MNCs. There are no job securities in not many sectors. So for somebody who is going to make any major investment in a property or in a residential house or bungalow, he will think twice about it. So I will go back to what Samir Shukla had been telling earlier. That first 6 months you need to do more on financial planning than anything else. Even for the optimistic approach what Keyur Vadodaria has, okay, we will be having projects which will be on floor the moment things ease out. Now, one thing we all have to realize very well that as far as payments are concerned, we are the last priority for all the clients of ours, right? And once they are short of money, they will try to pump in more money in the project that they are doing instead of going on and selling the money or sharing the money as part of fees to the architect. So that has to be factored. We may be having projects on hand, but the sort of financial transactions that will be happening with architects is all together for next 6 months are going to be very difficult. So you have to be careful about that.
All right. Okay. I think it answers the question, Amrish. And I would like to add that ultimately it is about understanding the situation in a 360-degree view. And as Bimal Bhai rightly said, you will have to be more dependable. And that is what your character will actually speak about things. Chirag, before we wrap up, I think I just got a message that Jayesh and Hiren are there in the meeting.
Okay.
I would want Jayesh to especially reflect if he has something on this, if he's there and if he wants to kind of pitch in with some of his views. Jayesh, are you there? Jayesh Haryani? Or Hiren Patel? Hiren, are you there?
Yeah,
I
I'm
can
here.
say.
I'm here. Yeah, thank you so much for everybody's advice and thinking about the situation. I think, we are looking forward for doing good for our well-being of our staff or team who are like a family member, as I understood from everyone. And I wish that I have. This is another kind of thing has happened earlier. I mean, in time of earthquake, the similar situation had actually come, and that time I was one of the very young practitioner. The many young people are a little worried about the finance aspects and like that. That time also it was the same, and we couldn't actually restart actually getting work and the fund and kind of thing for almost like a 1 year, but it passed by. So I'm sure there is always a way to do that. And as Snehal and everybody says that, it depends on everybody's perspective. I mean, what we are architects are, as Bimal said, that we are a bit not good at the finance part, which is a fact. And most of the architects, they are very passionate about their work. So for a person like me, I would love to work traditional way, because for me the work is important and not the opportunity of where the fund and money will come. And somebody will really get really excited about such kind of opportunity which Snehal and other panelists were saying about. So I'm sure the future, as somebody said that, yes, India is in growing. We were actually in a mad rush and we were building so much. So there was definitely so much of work is going to come back again. But at the same time, yes, financially it is not that easy. I just got the message from one of my architect, young person architect who's in USA. And he says the architect firm called Gensler, which is they also have office in Bangalore, and it's a huge architecture firm. Maybe turnover is much bigger than the Nirma, our Ahmedabad Nirma company. They are much bigger, they're larger than that, and they have, let's say, in US, firing people is a very common thing. People don't really feel. In India, we cannot, I mean, if somebody say I fire also, we get upset about it. So Gensler had reduced 40% of people. So
All
can
right.
you believe? So it's not that easy. SOM is already planning to reduce by 20 people, 20%. So the figures are quite big. So yes, luckily small office, most of the people who are here are talking, we are relatively small size of office, has no problem. But there are people in, I would say in Mumbai, working with 100 people, 150, 200 people, working with IT people, definitely has a problem. So
All
people
right.
luckily who are most of the viewers here, youngster, we are able to survive because our expenditure are not much and our spending are also not much. So hopefully we wish that everything comes out back. We are overcharged battery now to go back and meet our people and
All
work
right.
on this thing. I frankly speaking that everybody says there are a lot more work from home are happening. For me, it's not actually happening.
All right.
Productivity is, frankly speaking, is very down. We
Hmm.
pretend to work from home to make us our satisfied, but I can imagine same kind of energy with the same kind of zeal if we go and work in office. The productivity is much more, but that's okay.
Sure.
This kind of thing
Right.
happens. So thank you so much.
Thank
And
you. Thank you, Viren.
wonderful evening to everyone. It was nice
Thank you.
listening to everyone because it was good to know everybody's perspective on this.
Vatsal bhai, I would like to
Exactly.
add something to Iren's wisdom.
Okay, Samir.
See, I have one very strong realization that people are trying to tell me that human beings would work from home and do these kind of things. I have a simple question: wouldn't it be fun if we are all sitting around a table and doing this?
Yeah.
So we have tasted that this doesn't work. Till now, a lot of us, we did not know. We thought that these technologies work and it is fun to work from remote locations and Zoom and all. But after actually using it, we now know that it doesn't work. It is painful to live this way. So no two time a dozen virus can change the way we live. We enjoy our lives by interacting with each other on personal spaces, and that's what we will do. Let's die for it, but we will do it that way. This is a taste. We all learned that these technologies that we are sold are maybe not really working. Maybe I'm old, so all of us are, our generation is
All
thinking that way. But I think that's a realization everybody has, that this is not fun. Fun is,
right.
yeah.
Okay.
Architecture
Thank you.
doesn't
Thank
change.
you. Thank you, Samir. And from that, I think I would want to kind of close this and summarize this in a very simple way that Samir, who has been wearing two hats, law and architecture, I think we should have a hat of the financial management, which is an essential part now. And as Bimal Bhai rightly said, we don't know how to read a balance sheet or whatever. The financial managements are going to be the key to this whole survival now. And that is where, with empathy, with taking the team forward, with taking them in confidence, treating them as family, the essential part still remains that we have to get our finances right. And I think the essence of this discussion came about in a positive way, that if we are good at heart, if we know what we are doing, if we do it smartly, I'm sure that 6 months down the line, we won't be doing this. And as Samir said, we'll be sitting around the table and doing this. So I think that is what I would sum it up. Yeah, Chirag?
Yeah,
I would like to come in.
thank you, Vatsal bhai.
Yeah, Samir
I
wants
think
to
I'll
say
come
something.
in for 1 minute because I think we missed one point which we are discussing. Can I come in?
Yeah,
Yes,
okay.
please. Yeah.
So there is this legal liability issue, I think, which I should have been talking about more, but I would like to point out that this is maybe an opportunity. See, what you're not realizing currently is that you're legally liable in a massive way. If you look at your council of architecture statement also, the legal liability is sticking to you. Only thing is that it's like doctors, nobody's really pushing. But as the time will come and things will get more organized, there'll be a lot of legal liabilities coming up, including, maybe because for years I have been trying to discuss with the government to have a GDCR page on epidemic, related provisions. So there are a lot of compliances that would be coming in. That part would happen because obviously we grow into bigger projects. So I think architects need to wake up to that one part that maybe is missing in India, that we are not documenting. And we have one very, very simple thing that is missing, and that is an indemnity insurance. So I think that is one thing that all of you should get together and drive. In the world, that is there as a provision. You spend some kind of money toward that insurance, but otherwise you can get wiped out. So I guess that this is now one realization that maybe earthquake did not really deliver, but this can deliver. And if all of you can come together and get that indemnity insurance format available to insurance companies, that would be a great achievement out of this. Thank you.
Fantastic.
Okay, thank you, sir. Now I'll just like to end it because we are nearly at 2 hours of this session. So this has been an amazing session, gentlemen and ladies. I think we have achieved a lot of clarity on various aspects today, and the whole idea was to identify, assimilate, and inquire about the current issues that we have been facing, and I think we've been largely successful with that. I would like to thank a few people before we leave the meeting. First of all, I'd like to thank Manoj Soni for very graciously hosting this Zoom meeting. Thank you, Manoj bhai.
Thank you, Manoj bhai.
I would like to thank Ranna, Anand Tatu sir, our moderator, obviously, Vatsal Joshi for wonderfully conducting the panel discussion today. And lastly, to all of our, distinguished panelists today, thank you for your insight and your time also. It's been great to have you. And I'm sure everyone is going to benefit from what we have discussed today and what we have gathered today as a group. And on behalf of IIID and IIA, thank you everyone who has been present today. I think we touched upon, and also, Vatsal bhai summed it up regarding finance and, finance management. And that is exactly what we are going to touch upon on the next part of the Frank Talk, which is about cash flow and finance management. So we'll keep you up to date on that, and I hope all of you would be present for the next talk as well. So thank you everyone again. Thanks everyone.
Thank you, Bimal bhai. Thank you, Bimal bhai. Thank you, Samir. Thank you, Amit. Thank you, Keyur. Thank you, Snehal. Thank you, everybody.
Thank you everyone. Thanks very much.